just to start off by saying, my first role in healthcare leadership was as a nurse manager in an acute care hospital in New York City. And in that first role, I was very privileged that the first director that I reported to was a fellow of American College of Healthcare Executives. That's when I first, heard about FACHE, and I started looking into what FACHE is all about. And as we heard previously, as I looked more about what FACHE is all about, I found out that that is the gold standard of leadership credential in healthcare leadership. And at that time, I made a decision that in my journey, if I remain in healthcare leadership and in my journey, this is something that I want to accomplish as a leader in healthcare. So becoming a fellow was, also driven by a desire to grow from being a clinical operational leader and to evolve into a well-rounded healthcare leader. So becoming a FACHE, presented a structured path towards this leadership evolution. So as I took on more responsibilities in healthcare leadership, and became the director of critical care and med-surg division here at Mount Sinai Morningside, I really recognized that there is a need to strengthen in different areas of healthcare leadership, like financial management, strategic decision making, healthcare law and policy, governance, and such. So as I learned more about the journey of becoming a fellow of American College of Healthcare Executives, it became clearer that taking this journey is the opportunity for me to get exposure to these domains of healthcare leadership. And
Thank you
also
so
something
much
that
for
motivated,
sharing, Benzie.
pardon me?
Go ahead. One more point, and then I have to go to your colleague.
Okay,
One
great.
more point, and then I have to go to your colleague.
Yes, got it. So again, the passion, to improve healthcare equity, accessibility, and affordability, and the desire to influence a positive outcome, for our patients and families, and that commitment, really drove me to pursue and become a fellow of American College of Healthcare Executives. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing. It's obvious that it's been a journey, and that all of the effort that you've placed in has propelled you to become the great leader that you are. Turning it over to Nicole, share briefly, what your journey was to become a fellow and what drove you to make that step.
Great. Thanks so much. And thanks for having me. And thank you to the HLNY board. Great to be here. So I think for me, having been in healthcare for a long time and seeing kind of the evolution of it, I know that there's a lot that we still need to continue to do, right? There's goals that we have. And I found that there was a lot more that I still wanted to learn, and there always is. And I had heard about, ACHE and the fellow status, and some colleagues who I truly admired, both their leadership style and how they've really approached different positions and how they've evolved in their careers had this. And so I talked to a lot of people about it. And then I became more involved and joined ACHE and HLNY, and really found that this would be a great way to expand my own development and knowledge, because I think we do sometimes get stuck in one space. We're comfortable with that, and I'm kind of looking to make myself more uncomfortable sometimes, right? So that I push myself to continue to learn and grow. And honestly, that's what we need in healthcare. We need to be flexible and adaptable. We want to continue to improve care. And I really felt that this would be a way for me to increase my knowledge, and to really look at skill sets in a different way. So I've been passionate about this. I'm so excited that you're all here and you're going to learn more about it. And if I can do it, you can do it. So I know we'll talk more a little bit later, but I think, for me, it was a goal that I set and little by little kind of chipped away at it and then was able to achieve the fellow status.
Thank you so much for sharing. I like the part that you mentioned about expanding your development and expanding your skill set, right? This is a path forward for us to develop professionally and then translate those skills and knowledge that we learn back into our roles as leaders. So thank you so much for sharing. Next up, I do want to pose the same question to Kathleen. Tell us a little bit about your journey as well as what drove you to make that decision to attain your FACHE credentials?
Sure. Well, thank you for having me. And I do apologize for doing this from my car. I had to travel to our hospital up in Hudson Valley, and the traffic was more than I anticipated. So, but just about my journey, I think my journey is very different, probably from definitely from Nicole and Benzi's, but probably from a lot of people, in the fact that I only started working in a hospital 6 months ago. As you heard from my bio, prior to that, I worked for the New York State Department of Health, regulating hospitals, but not working, never having actually worked in a hospital or healthcare facility. With regard to why I went down this route, is that I knew probably around 2020, 2021, that I was likely going to be leaving state service in 2025, last summer, because I was eligible for retirement. So I wanted to make sure I did that, and then I also wanted to get into healthcare. I wanted to get into the hospital realm. Also a little too young to retire for real, and plus I had 2 kids going into college, so I needed to continue working. But I that's basically the big reason. Oh, and then what I did was, as I was, communicating with people within the healthcare sector through my job with the State Department of Health, I realized I think some of us talked about this the other day, the FACHE. I noticed it. I didn't really know much about it because I didn't have, again, that experience within a hospital. I looked into it. I joined ACHE as a member. I sort of treaded lightly for the first couple of years as far as participation in a lot of the activities. However, in 2024, as I was getting closer to my retirement, I had noticed the National ACHE had an executive program. I applied for.
I think we've lost Kathleen's audio.
Yes, I think we lost Kathleen because I know she's moving. And I believe she was just at the point sharing about the executive program. And that's just a plug that, our ACHE members, from her story, you can hear that she was a member for a while and then she got picked to become a fellow. So thanks so much for sharing. Next question I have up is, what advice do you have for future fellows? I'm sure we have members on the call who are interested in taking that next step. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Russell again for that question first.
Hi, thank you. I'm a planner, so definitely putting a timeline together was really important to me. So I actually started with, when do I want to take the exam, and then work my way back to see how many credits I would need, where was I in the application phase, volunteer work, and how much time did I think I might need in terms of studying. And that helped me to just kind of keep me on track. And I did have to adapt it because life happens. And so when I originally had thought I was going to take it, I wasn't able to take it at that time. So, I was able to then, kind of adjust it a bit, because that's going to happen. But I had a general idea of when I was going to take it. For me, it was really helpful to do the ACHE prep course, and I did the virtual course, and I did one of the courses also that HLNY had offered. For me, that was really great to be able to talk to other people, even virtually. And there were also recordings after those that you could go back and listen again and get the PowerPoint. So I happen to have a lengthy commute every day. And so the the sessions actually became part of my day. And it was helpful for me because I actually was able to then look and see, you know what, I feel stronger in this area than this area. And it helped me put together kind of that study plan. But the prep courses for me were really essential. I also use the flashcards. I rewatched some of the recordings, as I said. And then wow, the practice tests are so important. So that for me was also something that I did quite a few times. And I also found that if I had questions about some of the topics or areas, you want it to obviously be within the framework of what you're studying for the exam, but some of my colleagues at work, I went and had a conversation with them like, oh, can you tell me a little bit more about this? Because it just helped me to kind of make it a little bit more either realistic or understand it in a different way or have a real example that I could apply. So that was really the way that I did it. I think the courses, again, were something that really helped. And I think everybody has to do what's best for them, but I tried to have a plan because I think it's easy to kind of put it off, and I wanted to achieve my goal. So, that really worked for me.
Thanks so much for sharing. So just to summarize for all the listeners out there, please ensure that you do have a plan in place, set a timeline, sign up for prep courses, and, take this step forward. You can get there. Thank you so much for sharing, Nicole.
You're
Next
welcome.
up, Benzi, what would you share to our listeners out there, and what advice would you give them?
Thank you, Latoya. And I think Nicole shared most of it. And just be intentional about, pursuing this, make a clear decision that this is a priority and really make that commitment, And I'm pretty sure most of our attendees today are already leaders in healthcare. So leverage your experience, your leadership background already gives you a strong foundation. And don't underestimate what you already know, and just staying consistent, working towards like getting all the required credits. There are a lot of opportunities. Look for the virtual offerings from the ACHE chapters, our local HLNY chapter. A lot of ways to get those required credits that are needed for the for getting to getting cleared for the Board of Governors exam. So really schedule ahead for those offerings and sign up ahead and attend those and build up your credits. But look for mentors and peers who might be already pursuing this journey, or who might have already became a fellow. I would really suggest that you get an accountability partner, at least one, who might keep you on track. So I was really blessed to have a person like that who kept checking in on me during my journey, and who also was one of my referees, who was who referred me, who did the reference for me as well. So that really helps if you have someone as an accountability partner during this journey. And some of the other things that you're really looking at the journey as a whole. This is not just about getting the credential or passing the exam. This is the journey that really helps you to grow as a leader and get exposure to all the domains in healthcare leadership. So really look at that, as a whole, and focus on that, and not just passing the exam. And as Nicole mentioned, once you met all the requirements, please go ahead and schedule that date for the test. it really creates a urgency and helps you to align yourself to a structure. And also preparation for me became real after I signed up for my test and got that date. And that's when I said, okay, now it's time for me to, get serious about, committing and time to study daily and review, those practice questions. And, so it's really, it all starts with that, plan, commitment, and that intentional approach. Thank you.
Thanks so much for sharing, Benzi. Also, to recap, I like what you mentioned about having an accountability partner and also highlighting the need for mentors. As you know, some of the requirement is that you get reference sent over, and most of the mentors who already have their FACHE credentials are your support champions that can push you forward. So that's very important. One question did come over in the chat really quick as we were talking about our journey and how you've both attained your credentials. How long did it take you to since you started that journey of setting your timeline? How long, in terms of months, years, how long did it take you from when you started?
So for me, I can say that it took almost close to 2 years.
2 years? Okay.
Yes.
Same for me when I went on that journey. It took me 2 years. And Nicole, how long did it take you?
About the same. Yep.
2 years? Okay, good. Do we know if Kathleen was able to rejoin us?
Yep,
I'm not sure.
I'm back.
Okay, great. So same questions. What advice do you have for our future fellows? And again, how long did it take you to attain your FACHE credentials?
Sure. I think I cut off somewhere around the executive program. So the big benefit of going through that executive program, I was able to get all of my credits in basically within 6 months. It really sort of jump started me toward studying. I participated in an online, it was actually a very inexpensive online class that was held through another chapter of ACHE. So just keep an eye out for those types of things. I also attended the one-day HLNY session last summer. And then I think the big thing is don't underestimate too the amount of steps it takes just to get the application in and approved, and then you can schedule your test. Because I wasn't sure, I didn't realize it was taking that long. Anyway, so once you, as the other folks have said too, Nicole and Benzi mentioned, schedule that test, because then it really kind of sets a time frame for you. You can set that time, you can schedule that test out pretty far in advance. For me, it was pretty far in advance. I think I scheduled it in June. I got an October test. So definitely, kind of push you to get that studying in and underway, and really, I really kind of push forward after that point. With regard to the length of time, and so I really started, I would say, in June of 24, and I got my FACHE, I passed the exam in October of 25. So, probably maybe a little bit faster, just because I think a big part of that was getting through those, the credits quicker.
Thank you so much for sharing. So last question for our panelists as we wrap up this discussion is, taking the Board of Governors exam can be very daunting. As healthcare leaders, we're in day-to-day operations and leading teams, addressing multiple different things across our service lines. And one thing about, studying to take a test where you now have to sit down and answer a lot of questions. So what are some tips that you can share to our listeners out there about how you prepare for that exam? And first up, I have Benzi. Take us away. All
right. Thanks, Latoya. And so again, the Board of Governors exam is a long exam, is a very challenging exam. I would say one of the toughest exams that I have taken. So again, to prepare for this Board of Governors exam and to be successful, again, we have to come back to that first step, start with a plan, right? So you need to have like a structured study timeline and break the contents of the exam into different domains, and focus on the domains that are weaker areas for you. So for me, coming from a clinical background, leadership background, my main challenges were finance, law, governance. So I really had to learn these and become familiarized myself with it. So look for those areas which are your weaker areas, and put more effort into doing that first to help you. So also practice questions. Doing practice questions is very, very important. It was one of the I would say it is one of the most valuable tool. It really helps you into that test taking mode, and also help you identify your weaker areas early on as well. Really, we want to put that perspective of answering these questions. These are some of the questions are very tricky, right? So really help you to identify weaker areas and focus on that. And then another thing that helped me really was attending a Board of Governors exam prep course offered by the local ACHE chapter. It really gives you a comprehensive outline and overview about the exam, and really, make you like more open to looking at the areas that you need to focus on. Really connect with your subject matter experts. There are a lot of your colleagues that work in different, in your organizations. So I really had to tap into the subject matter experts here in my organization, talking to the finance teams, talking to people in, legal, in HR, IT. I mean, again, whatever areas or topics that you are struggling with, you can find someone who is an expert and can help you really connect, and it helps you to network with others and connect and really grow as a leader as well. Staying disciplined is key. Once you have that test date, you really want to stay disciplined and make a commitment to practice questions. And I really used the Board of Governors exam flashcards, and I can say that it really helped in my test, especially when it comes to the questions from law and governance. So use that flashcards. That will be really helpful as well. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Benzie. Nicole, what test taking tips do you have for the Board of Governance exam?
So I think, again, a lot of what Benzie said, I definitely agree with. One thing I did as well is I looked also at the percentage of questions in each area, also, so that you have an idea of how many questions you're going to have, right, in each section. And I think that is helpful to know, as you're studying. Somebody had also given me some advice, because in all of our organizations, there may be, different intricacies, right, with governance and other components. And it's really important that you study it and that you understand it as it's, detailed for you through the courses and through the content, not through your organization necessarily in some of those areas. So that's something I think that's important to just be aware of, is that, you may do something slightly different in your organization. And so when it comes to governance, for me, that was something I just had to keep reminding myself. It's a little bit different, from where I work to, what the Board of Governors content is. I like the flashcards as well. I thought those are great. The virtual flashcards, I think, were super helpful, because, even you have 15 minutes on your phone, you can get some done. So I think for this studying, it doesn't have to necessarily be this long, every session has to be this lengthy hour over hour session. You can do it as well in small bites, and that worked for me. And I did the mock test quite a few times, and I did it with timing myself and actually kind of simulating like when I would need to get up. I knew that I would need for that whole time, I would need to get up, I would need to go have a snack. I actually kind of practiced when I was going to do that during the exam. I was fine on time, but you know, that for me, like I needed to take a break for 10 minutes or whatever it was, and I came back and I finished. So if you're a person who needs that or needs to go get a drink or, you know, needs to use the bathroom, whatever it might be, I do think it's helpful to actually practice kind of when during the exam you would want to do that because it is lengthy and it's almost like building up your stamina a bit. Like if you're, you know, going to be competing in some athletic event, it's similar in that way because we don't sit for that long doing these types of questions every day. So you just need to kind of keep practicing it. And that really helped me. So yeah, all the things that Benzie said as well, really, really helpful.
Thanks so much for sharing. So I'm hearing a lot of common themes around flashcards, virtual flashcards, having the ability to join a prep course to get your knowledge up, as well as setting the time and the dedication and being disciplined about when you study. Kathleen, last question for you as well is any tips, additional tips that you can share to our listeners?
Sure. And just to Nicole's point, not only is it, you know, you need to kind of, you know, put aside what your organization does, but this is also a national test. So it's not New York or, you know, it's national. So you have to remember there might be some nuances to New York that wouldn't really, you have to think more on a national level. With regard to the, I would, as far as the flash, I like the paper flashcards. And as I knew that topic, I would put it aside. I would go back to it, you know, and review again, but I would really focus on the ones that I didn't know as well. So those were definitely helpful. Also, again, I think focusing in, I think Benzie mentioned it earlier, focusing in on the areas that you're weakest in. Coming from the regulatory side, laws, governance, quality, healthcare, the management, in particular, even HR, because of the state system. I knew that pretty well. It was finance, business, and those were the things, and a little bit of maybe health IT that I wasn't as familiar with. So those are the things I definitely put a lot more time into. I think also to Nicole's point, you know, you want to look at the heavier weighted areas and focus on those as well, regardless of your expertise, because obviously that's where the more bulk of the questions are. But those are the tips. And as far as the way I sat for the exam, first of all, you can't bring anything into the room, just so you know. I mean, they'll check your glasses, they check everything. For those of you who haven't taken this type of a test before, even I brought in like little cloth lozenges, and they made me take them, unwrap them, and put them in a tissue to take them in the room. So it's very strict as far as what you can take in the room. But what I did was I went through the whole test. I sat through it till about 5 hours and 5.5 hours. Once I finished all the questions, I flagged some of them to go back and look at. That's when I took my break. And then I went, because I just want to make sure I got through everything. And then I went back in, I checked a few others over, and then I hit the button. And for those of you who don't know, as soon as you hit that button, you get your result. And then I breathed. So that was it.
Thanks so much for sharing. I really appreciate all the insights that you guys shared. That is concluding this portion. So right now we're going to open it up to our audience for questions. And I know we do have questions coming into the chat that we'll be able to post to the group for additional conversation. I know one that came up recently was, how long did it take you guys to study per week, like on average? How long did it take you? And then what are some of the resources that you guys use to practice for the questions as you study? So Benzie, do you want to start first?
Yes, Natalia. So for the practice questions, you know, we have, you can find it online. ACHE has like a full practice test that is free and it's available to all test takers. And also, you know, when you search online, you can find a lot of practice questions that are posted by different, ACHE chapters, the people who have taken tests before, So all of those, practice, any and all practice questions that are available online, please, utilize that. And when you attend the ACHE Board of Governors prep, exam prep course, that also gives you, some practice questions from each of the, domains for the test. So that is really helpful as well. Natalia, you were muted.
Oh, apologies. Nicole, how long did it take you to study, and what are the resources you've used to get the practice test questions?
Did the same, the ACHE questions, and also the questions from the prep classes. Every section that after the class, there would be specific questions both before and after that we could take. So that was really helpful. So, and then you could print those out and retake them. And again, there's things online too. I would just say be careful because some of them, like some I would find, and it didn't necessarily, it wasn't the same as some of the other questions in terms of the wording. So I think, just be careful that you're not pulling stuff that isn't necessarily relevant, especially with all the AI stuff out there. I just make sure that, it makes sense in terms of the questions that you might be Googling or looking online. But I think for me, as I was getting closer, I was probably doing about like 2 hours a night, I think, as I was getting about a bit closer, maybe not every night like that, but I tried to have dedicated time, and my family kept me accountable. And so that was really helpful for me. So they knew that from this time to this time that I would have to do it. And obviously that had to change sometimes because of work commitments, and we're all leaders and other things happening. It's really hard. But you just need to, again, that accountability of doing it, and then it's done, which is great. So.
Thanks for sharing. Kathleen, what's the shortest way to acquire credits needed for members to qualify to sit for the exam? And this is just some questions coming into the chat that I'm posing for discussion.
The shortest way is what I did, was actually going through the executive program if you qualify for it, just because literally from June to October, I got all my in-person credits and my virtual credits in one shot. So that I was very lucky to be able to do that. So that, yeah, definitely.
Oh, and here in the chat, yeah, our online portal, the ACHE online portal, is a great way for you to track the tool and keep you track of your progress for the credits that you need to accumulate. So that's great. Anyone on the call that would like to come off mute to pose a question to our panelists, please feel free to do so. Or we can go through the chat as we continue as well. But a lot of great thank you to you guys for sharing your advice and stories I'm seeing. But is anyone have any other questions for our panelists as we continue this discussion? We're here to support you, our Healthcare Leaders of New York team. We're here to help you with this next step in your career. Let's see any
I have a quick question.
questions. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you so much for this informational meeting. First of all, I'm looking to take my BOG hopefully in the next couple of months. So this is really exciting to see that everyone starts in a different phase, but just overall, as long as we stay structured, it seems to be good outcomes. The question that I have, I am the type of individual who needs to practice exams, and I've been able to get a hold of one. Not sure if we have any other resources where we can take other practice exams, any other questions that we can practice, because sitting there for, I think, 6 hours can be challenging. So I'm trying to kind of sit down and block time in my weekends or evenings to have 6 hours to just devote myself to that exam. Practice exams before actually going in and taking it.
I can answer. I can send you over the one that I've used when I was preparing. and maybe you can compare with the one that you're using to see if there's similar questions. You know, many of our panelists shared that, you know, you have to be disciplined and practice sitting for the entire question cohort and not just taking, you know, one section at a time. I mean, as you study that way, but then when you're getting closer to your exam date, it's best that you practice taking the full questions as a whole. So when you're in the actual exam, you're more comfortable because it's a very long time that you'll be sitting down answering the question. So I'll definitely get your contact information if you want to put it in the chat, and we'll connect. And I'll send over the questions. And, you know, that's part of our great community here for Healthcare Leaders of New York. We're here to support each other. We can cross-share information to all of our members. Anyone else on the call who would like to ask a question?
I could just respond a little bit to that. Sorry. So
Sure,
I also found Quizlet to be a very helpful. Yeah, I used Quizlet a lot for a lot of the questions, so that helped as well. There was basically some, a lot of them were very repetitive to the flashcards, but they did have some additional questions on there. I, for one, was only able to find the one mock test that's out there. I don't know if anybody found another mock test.
Thank you. I think it's just the one mock test that still circulating around, but I definitely will be using one of those tools of just putting it on a Quizlet or now AI to kind of just help me spit those questions up in different orders. The thing is, for me, when I take a test, I already know the answers to the same test, so it doesn't usually benefit me taking it a second time. But I'll keep reading the flashcards and the books a little bit more in detail.
Can I add one thing really quick? It's Carrie. So the best advice I can give anyone is when you take the practice, when you sit down for a complete, 6-hour exam and you're going to do it, you need to put yourself in the environment like the test center. You need to go where you don't have your dog sitting next to you, you don't have your phone, you don't have music in the background, you don't have coffee, you don't have snacks. Like, you need to live in that moment as if you were taking the real exam, and do that several times. You can go to the library, you can get one of the private rooms, because that is the best thing you can do. So this way your system isn't shocked when you go that day and suddenly you don't have your Starbucks. It's a very different environment. So just please keep that in mind. It would be very helpful.
Thank you. That's actually really good to know. Thank you.
And I also just want to share that on the day of the test, really be prepared, get enough rest the day before. Don't cram all night, just make sure you wake up fresh and get a good breakfast and, energize yourself and go with I'm gonna get this done, and go with that mentality, just to make sure that you're focused and you get there and you do it. And I took a break in the middle, halfway through the test, and I went out and stretched, just to refresh myself and come back focused again halfway through the test. So I think it kind of helped me, but whatever works for you, do that, and so that you can get through this long test.
Thank you so much. It's been a few years since I've had to take those big exams, so kind of throw me back all the way down to the GREs or the SATs and stuff. So thank you for that advice.
For noise canceling headphones, I wanted to mention when you're studying, because it is silent in that room when you go in, and most of us work in environments where you have some noise. Just being that quiet for that long, I felt for myself, I had to kind of get used to that again. So you're in your own thoughts, I guess, in some respects. But noise canceling headphones helped me to kind of recreate the environment enough that it was like I really couldn't hear anything and just focus on taking when I was doing the practice exams.
Thank you. Cool.
I'm just looking through the chat, see if we have any additional questions, or anyone else would like to come off mute to ask questions.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Cindy Louise. Hopefully everyone can hear me. My apologies for not being on camera. I'm not sure if anyone went over this session about volunteer services. For those possible candidates that's trying to get ACHE credits, is there a list of volunteer activities where they can go to have their ACHE credit for volunteer activities?
I can jump in there because at the time that I was looking for my volunteer activities, I was not part of the hospital or healthcare facility. So I think for those that are, it might be a little bit easier. I went to the Multiple Sclerosis Association and did a walk with them. I volunteered to help out with the walk. And the Red Cross is another one that you can go to do that. Those two were accepted for me personally.
I was going to share the same thing, that most organizations have walks, as well as, community events within your local areas that you live would suffice. That I don't believe that ACHE is big on, going back and seeing to the T what community event you participated in, as long as it's linked to an organization and it's truly focusing on the community outreach event activities, it is counted. But this is a good question you posed, Ms. Louisma. Maybe we can create, resource lists and resource guides for future fellows.
Thank you so much. And that was my question, because it's going to make it easier for members to really find those areas instead of them going on their own to find it. If HLNY has a list of partnership that I already work with for volunteer services, it would be such a helpful list to have for the members. Thank you.
Okay, so we also mentioned—
And definitely look, sorry.
Yeah,
definitely look this time of year, because this time of year is the time where they do a lot of walks. I know initially I was looking in the winter time and I couldn't find anything, so I had to wait. So, yep.
So if I could chime in right here for a quick second. One of the things that HLNY tries to do, besides offering the Board of Governors for exam prep courses, info sessions like this, is that we try to work with our partners and be aware of what offerings are in the community. Bear in mind that our membership is dispersed across a large region. So, we can promote those community events, such as the American Brain Tumor 5K walk every year. But what we sometimes forget is that ACHE is very liberal in what they consider volunteer opportunities. For example, donating blood. We all know that donating blood is a big issue that we all face as healthcare and that working in healthcare systems. And in that regard, donating blood is considered a volunteer activity. Again, this is something that the Advancement Committee spearheads. So they work with members who are aware that there's volunteer opportunities within their communities, within the systems that they work on. So if you are aware of these types of opportunities, feel free to run them up the ladder to Kirk. And then what we can do is that we can create notices by way of the email distributions for our members to know that these opportunities are available in their area.
Thanks, Louis. I also want to mention we did put lists in our resources, volunteernewyork.org, and you can /search, and you can look there for other opportunities to volunteer.
Thank you so much, Halim and Kirk.
Okay, well, thank you guys so much for a great discussion. I hope we were able to share a lot of pearls of wisdom to our future fellows. And thank you so much to our esteemed panelists, to our HLNY Board of Directors, as well as our leadership team here that's, committed to supporting, and a super great thanks to our Advancement Committee Chair, Kirk Castillo, who's supported us with this initiative today. With that, I will be turning over to our President-elect, Gina Valinston, to take us with her closing remarks. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Latoya. Hi, everyone. Great to see you. Recent FACHE fellow myself. I had the privilege of walking with Kathleen actually at convocation and in Houston just this year. Highly recommend working toward this. ACHE Congress is going to be in Nashville next year. So if you wanted to be a part of the graduation ceremony then, it's a good goal to work toward. Just a few closing remarks for our group here. For your awareness, we, as a part of the foundation, which is our kind of sister nonprofit charity arm of HLNY, is actually supporting that virtual BOG prep course. All of the proceeds that are paid for this virtual BOG course will actually fund the foundation, which will fund scholarships for the future healthcare generation. So you can consider being a part of it, an investment in your future and an investment in other healthcare leaders, which is fantastic. The foundation also supports scholarships that are currently open for applications. Art Gianelli, Leonard Etchen, the Skanga family have several scholarships open to early careerists and students and others. Also not included in the slide, but we also did announce just yesterday or today about our Award of Distinction Scholarship. So that's an HLNY funded scholarship of 4 $1,500 scholarships for student members of HLNY. So look on our website for more information on that. And of course, if you'd love to donate to the foundation, you can scan this QR code as well. Upcoming events. So we have a lot on the radar, starting with Cocktails with the Chiefs just next week, Tuesday. If you haven't bought your tickets yet, it's an event not to be missed. There are still tickets available. Our prep course starts at the beginning of May and again runs for 5 weeks. We also have a wonderful virtual event happening in May, Reimagining the Future of Ambulatory Care. There's actually going to be another event posted soon, so just a little teaser for that. That will come early May as well. There will be a tour of Live On New York, which is one of our HLNY sponsors, to their simulation center for organ donation. That's going to be open to all of our HLNY members. It's going to be really interesting and exciting to see. And of course, the prominent signature events later in the year that you all are looking forward to, the gala and awards presentation in June, boat cruise, a Better Together mini congress, up to the holiday party in Frank Camerano as well. So save the dates. Some of these are already posted. And if you want to stay up to speed with all of our events as they get organized and scheduled, you can always sign up for the calendar via the website, and subscribe to the calendar to add it to your calendar of choice. And of course, none of what we do would be possible without our fantastic sponsors. They really make the mission of HLNY possible. So we thank our sponsors very much. If you are interested in becoming a sponsor, reach out to sponsors@hlny.org. And in closing as well, we have our membership survey. So it's almost at our deadline, but there are raffle prizes. We've already given out a ticket to a free virtual event. We have a free ticket to Cocktails with the Chief to be given out, as well as a membership mixer as well. We would love your feedback about the ideas of what you as our members need, things like this info session and other resources and connection opportunities. We want to hear your feedback. So please provide that by scanning this QR code. And with that, thank you for joining us. Thank you to the Advancement Committee for putting together this wonderful informational session. Please, again, if any other questions about fellow advancement, reach out to advancement@hlny.org and follow us in all of our different channels by scanning this QR code to our link tree. Have a wonderful evening, everyone. This session was partially recorded. We did turn it on a little late, so it will be posted later. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.